In wake of Aurora apartment saga, Colorado lawmakers expand cities' powers to investigate slumlords. Cities, counties, and Colorado AG can now ask a judge to temporarily give control of properties to third-party caretakers. Commentary. Long overdue. For your information, there was another set of apartments that the same company, CPZ, owned that was closed just a few months earlier. That complex didn't get escalated to national attention, but its closure still resulted in the displacement of dozens of families. With the next property, they told us lies about the extent of gang activity in an attempt to try to avoid consequences. Had the city done their job and held CPZ accountable or taken control of the properties earlier, they could have helped hundreds of people from being displaced. So rather than the city properly running buildings that housed many people, their failure to address the negligence in a timely manner, we now have dilapidated, condemned facilities and hundreds of displaced people.
What do you think?
Colorado municipal leaders will soon be able to temporarily take control of chronically dilapidated apartment buildings under new legislation signed into law this week that was inspired by now infamous group of properties in Denver and Aurora. Commentary. Now, is this just for privately run buildings, or does that include nonprofits as well? Salvation Army run at Crossroads has been run poorly for decades. It would be a candidate for something like that. Senate Bill 20 gives cities and counties explicit authority to pursue civil actions, like fines or lawsuits. Commentary. Only civil? Is there at no level that would raise to these infractions being criminal negligence? Jail time in the case for the CPZ, hundreds of families were affected.
What do you
To
think?
enforce the state's tenant and safe housing laws that regulate security deposits, apartment conditions, rental applications, and mobile home parks, those provisions were already enforceable by the Attorney General, while individual local governments had their own housing codes. Good old home rule raises its ugly head again. If you don't start sending the worst offenders to jail, they're just going to keep offending. One poorly managed property can cause suffering for hundreds. The victims of this neglect often become homeless through no fault of their own. The law also allows those authorities, as well as the Colorado Attorney General's office, to ask a court to temporarily give control of rundown buildings to a third-party caretaker so that the property can be restored to a suitable condition. Restoration instead of scraping properties to be replaced by luxury developments. Yeah. Governor Jared Polis signed SB 20 into law Wednesday. Most of its provisions go into effect in August. Others, allowing actions related to bed bugs and sexual and domestic misconduct, go into effect January 1st. The AG's office will also be empowered to bring actions related to those issues starting New Year's Day. This law would hold negligent landlords accountable when they illegally ignore dangerous living conditions, Representative Xavier Marbury, a Denver Democrat, said in a statement. He sponsored the bill with fellow Democrat Representative Mandy Lindsay and Senators Mike Weissman and Julie Gonzalez. By giving the Attorney General, counties, and municipalities more authority to enforce tenant protection laws, Colorado renters will have more advocates in their corner to fight for safe housing. The law was directly inspired by CBZ Management, and the two brothers who controlled it, and a collection of chronically dilapidated buildings in Aurora and Denver. For years, tenants had complained about the property's lack of heat, water, etc., their chronic roast infestations, and faulty appliances. And just for reference, here's a quick look at the initial story. We'll include the link for this one in the description as well. So this is the initial closure of the buildings that were in Denver before the ones got all famous in apartment for the gang mischief.
Fun!
You call
That's
that
back in
fun?
August
That was
2024.
boring.
Wow, it's been nearly a year. Thank you for watching The Wright Report. That's WRIGHT with your host, Benjamin Wright. Homeless news and housing policy, the right way.